Hello and welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's greed. In today's video, we are going to be taking a look at Bitcoin, the price action, the rainbow chart, how Bitcoin is doing in this cycle. So let's get into it and start off with crypto fear and greed. And right now, crypto is just teetering on the edge of extreme greed, which is 76 or higher. Has been in the mid 70s for a bit recently, and now is getting up into extreme greed because Bitcoin did just make another new all time high. When we take a look, though, at the last few months, overall, you can see that crypto is still in this downtrend of greed to fear. So it is making new lower highs and lower lows. So hopefully, this little sharp downturn here might start sending the trend in the other direction. But in the past, at least after March, what you can see is that that overall downtrend did prelude some pretty big price action that happened to the downside. So just something to keep in the back of your mind when we are looking for newer all-time highs or one of the next peaks as far as Bitcoin's concerned. I like to take a look at later 2020, 21 when Bitcoin last cycle was getting past the former all-time highs from 2017. And as you can see here, greed stayed up and elevated for about 4 months or so. So I would say it's still in this elevated area. We have about another month to go, but if Bitcoin stays there, then maybe we are going to see a peak from somewhere around 120 to 150K in the near future. We will see. And one of the charts I wanted us to keep in the back of our mind for alt season especially is what to expect and wait for if this is your first cycle when it comes to alt season. So in the past, in 2017, alt season happened right at the top, or I'd say after Bitcoin topped and just right after. And last cycle, it didn't happen at the very top, but it happened at the first peak. So there was this double top, and when most of the alts were ripping up, it was in this peak right here. However, keep in mind, there were still many alts that were making new highs in this area. Just most of them, alt season did happen in this first peak in 2021. So we would be taking a look and waiting for when there's a rotation happening from all the money that's in Bitcoin going over into Ethereum, into the large caps, into alt season. Now this time around, Ethereum hasn't been performing as well lately, and I wanted to take a closer look at Ethereum and its pairing against Bitcoin in this video to show you that. But we have seen other altcoins like XRP doing very well recently, and before that, Solana. So maybe some of these other very large caps in the top 10 are starting to eat away at Ethereum a little bit. And maybe instead of phase two just being Ethereum, we start to split that up into the main three like Ethereum, Solana, and XRP, and then wait for rotation from those into the other large caps like Chainlink and AVAX, and then the small and medium caps if you get lucky. So something to keep in mind. Now, recently we did have that 15% correction before the new all-time high that was made within the last 24 hours. So this chart, it shows that in uptrends, it is okay to expect these big corrections from 15 to 30%. And even in 2017, I remember these being very euphoric times, and it almost became a joke when there was another 40% correction because it just kept happening. Altcoins were still doing pretty decent. And then at the very end, the altcoins, when there was that rotation, just started to explode in value 5x, 10x, 20x. It was a crazy time. And I'd say this cycle overall has been a little bit different in that it really has been advantageous to get in at these lower areas. So if you are new to crypto in the cycle this time around, I want to be clear on this. I still think you can make money on the altcoins, but I would temper your expectations. And instead of waiting for possibly a 10 or a 20x, like what happened in 2017, or even with some alts in 2021, I'd say last cycle and even more so this cycle, More of the gains have been made for the 10x, the 20x's if you've been getting in the lower areas here. If you are pretty new because Bitcoin's making a new all-time high and you are just watching this for the first time, do temper your expectations and know that a 2x, a 5x is still an amazing thing. To do that in a single year is an amazing thing to do with your money, and that's not normal. It's not normal to double your money every year. If you could double your money every year with $1,000, you could turn that into $1 million inside of 10 years. So it's not easy to do, and it's okay to just have a 2 to a 5x. So just make sure you temper your expectations there. As far as the alt season index, you can see it is overall still in an uptrend, making higher highs, higher lows, and we are at a higher low right now. So there might possibly be some decent values in altcoins and Bitcoin mining stocks. I do videos on altcoins and Bitcoin mining stocks, so subscribe if you want to hear my take on some of those. And I try to do as unbiased a technical analysis as I can and just show you whether it's good value or not. Now, as far as the rainbow chart, okay, Bitcoin just got to around 109K. You might be taking a look at this rainbow chart and saying, well, it's in the yellow band and there's 4 color bands above it, there's 4 below. It's at a median type value right now. Well, not so fast. You can see that overall from the peaks, they have started to descend. And I would say that the older rainbow chart that was used shows it even better. That's why they had to adjust the rainbow chart this time around to better suit where the price action is. That overall, the peaks are still descending. And as you can see, it only got into the light reddish band last time. So that is why this cycle, I'm expecting the peaks of Bitcoin to get somewhere around the orange bands in here. And overall, there has been this phenomena of 4-year cycles from November, December 2013, December 2017. We had November, December 21. That's when Bitcoin was making its all-time high last cycle, even though more of alt season was here. Now, there were some alts, again, they did better here than the first peak, but overall, most altcoins did better in that first peak. So people have had 2 trains of thought. Is there a 4-year cycle again? And which peak is it coming from? As far as the way Ethereum has been acting, I think the data is definitely showing that alt season, let's get back to the rainbow chart, might be more so from 4 years from this point, somewhere around later this year. That's what the data is telling me. But as far as there being a peak in Bitcoin price from this time around, I would not doubt that. I would not doubt if we saw something similar this time around because of what the price action is doing. I'll show you that. So if we take a look at the rainbow chart, and let's go to April of this year, mid-April, perfect. And you see where those orange bands are. The light orange band, 123 to 158K. Dark orange band, 158K to 200,000, give or take. All right, if we go to, let's just say December, perfect. Dark orange, you can see there around 195 to 250. Light orange, 150 to 195, right? You can see those orange boxes right there. Now let's get over to Bitcoin and take a look at where those prices would be. We can see that right now, Bitcoin, let's actually zoom in here. Let's zoom way in. You can see we do have a candle body. I use Heikin-Ashi candles, just starting to get above this 1618. The 1618 at 102K, it was resistance. There were candle wicks, but now we see more of a candle body starting to peak above. So the more candle body we see getting above this, the better. We want to see the 1618 turn into resistance. In the past, when Bitcoin has gotten to these big resistance levels, this was the all-time high level from 21. We only had candle wicks. Yes, we had new highs, but we didn't see the candle bodies. Once we did, that was the beginning of the trend, and you can see that happening last cycle when the all-time high was around 20,000. Once the candle bodies got above, all right, started closing above. Cool. Now, taking a look at where the next fib target would be, because we drew a fib from the high to the low. The 1618 fib at 102K. Bitcoin's above that right now. Got to 109K within the last 24 hours. The 2618, it is at 155K. So remember, that is where on the rainbow chart, that 155K is right at about the middle of those orange bands. That would be, in my opinion, a good target to look for as far as the next top. Now, if you're more of a 4-year cycle camp from December and later in quarter four of the post halving year, then you might be looking for somewhere around 190K. And again, the halving was last year. So when I say post halving year, this is the year after the halving, post halving, 2025. 4-year cycle post halving years have historically been the best. All right, so that's what we're looking for. Now, we can take a look at another indicator here, and it's called the logarithmic regression. One second. Let me get a drink of water here. And this log regression, you can see that the 2618, this 155K, is right in that regression band. Now let's zoom out. Let's take a look at the last two peaks. You can see that Bitcoin had a top about middle to 3/4 of the way up in 2017. And then in 2021, you can see it was about 3/4 of the way up towards the middle of where it topped last cycle. So if we're just using what happened in the past, which isn't always the smartest thing to do when looking for price targets, but when we do in this scenario and we use what's happened in the past, we can see that the 2618 is about in that range where we saw peaks last time at around 155K. So if we move our mouse out to April, okay, you can see at the bottom, that's where the dates are. If we move our mouse out to April, that is right where the 155K level is, that 2618, and it's about 3/4 of the way up in this log regression indicator. Now, if we go down just to the middle, that's at about 130K. Now, we can also see here that this red line I drew here, that's for the average from the amount of days from the halving to the next peak. So when you take every halving that's ever happened in crypto history, and we've had 4, it's about 485 days from halving to next peak. Now, I know what you're thinking. The 4-year cycles have so far happened from December, but remember, we've had different things happen each cycle. Okay, we've had peaks be closer to the halving and further away. All right, so that's just where it's at. Now, 4-year cycle could still happen in December, but if we were to top sometime or get in that log regression band sometime around August or September, that regression band, the middle would be around 140K, and then 3/4 of the way up, 167K. Now let's stretch that out. Let's stretch that out to December. You can see on the bottom where December is, and I'm just going by this middle line, extending it up right here. You can see the middle line right there would be around that 2618, the 155K, but getting 3/4 of the way up, if we just kind of extended that out to December, we are taking a look. You see the price at the right at around 180K. Again, that falls inside those orange bands we were looking at in whatever situation we get. So to be clear, no one knows when the top's going to happen, but I think there is some confluence of data to say, well, if we are to see a couple tops, maybe a double top like we had last cycle, that it would not be surprising to me if by March or April we see Bitcoin get up here. Now, if this is a little bit of a fake out and we don't continue to see candle bodies close above this, sure, Bitcoin could have a correction to 70K if things got really ugly. Sure, that could happen. And then it takes its time and later on it goes up. I don't know what Bitcoin price is going to do. No one does. But if this bullish momentum continues, that would be the next macro target to look for. Now, going back to a chart I showed you earlier in this video. We need to talk about this, and if you were here last Friday's live stream, I like to do live stream most Fridays, so try to be there. It's around noon Central Time, give or take. We talk about Ethereum and how Ethereum paired against Bitcoin has been underperforming this time around. So something to keep in mind is that as Bitcoin's been going up, so has Bitcoin dominance. Now, when Bitcoin dominance has tanked in the past to the low 40%, last cycle it took about 6 weeks, that's when alt season happened. that's when there was the rotation from Bitcoin into these other alts, okay? So Bitcoin dominance, this is the percent of money that's in all crypto that is in Bitcoin. Right now, Bitcoin dominance is at 59%. 2017, when we saw that rotation inside of a month, so we have 4 weeks there, 6 weeks, 2021, that's when alt season happened. That's when, if you were lucky and you picked the right altcoins or Bitcoin miners, you were seeing them finish their large euphoric move, going up 5x, 10x, 20x, whatever. So Bitcoin dominance, at least recently, it is going up, but I just thought to draw a fib from the height of the low recently. And what do we see here? Bitcoin dominance. It's just at its micro 618 fib. So if it gets above this, then here are the next targets to look for. Let's make sure that fib is on the log. It's not, right? Never mind what I just said. Well, it's still kind of true. So it is at the 618, but we want to make sure we're being accurate. 786, 60%, 888, 61%, so on and so forth. So we're not seeing a rotation, but we may see some deals coming into altcoins. Now, speaking of altcoins, let's talk about the number one altcoin. You go to CoinMarketCap. Let's refresh this baby a little bit. You can see Ethereum. Right now, it's twice the market cap, give or take, from the next altcoin, which is XRP. And then, of course, we have Solana down there. Tether just retains a value of $1, always, okay? So people go into Tether when Bitcoin price is going down to retain their Satoshi value, okay? Now, we have Ethereum at 400 billion, but however, Bitcoin dominance is going up. You see Ethereum had some pretty nasty price action, came down to the 50-week moving average, and the 50-week is typically the difference between bullishness and bearishness. And when you hear bearish, doesn't mean that you can't get good value, and this is good discounted value down here, but Ethereum's not been doing well against Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin dominance goes up, we also see Ethereum Bitcoin go down. And not just that, Ethereum Bitcoin is making a new low this cycle, right? As far as this cycle, I was calling this the Ethereum Bitcoin bottom because that's also when Bitcoin dominance peaked this cycle. Last cycle, when Ethereum Bitcoin bottomed, was also when Bitcoin dominance peaked. Now, when you draw a fib from the height of the low, you can see that even though it got down to this level, the candle body was closing at this 382 fib line right here at around 21%. It came down and it back tested it. And whenever it's a wick, I don't take it as seriously. When it's a candle body, though, I do. Okay, now this last couple weeks, what have we seen? We've seen candle bodies clearly showing us that the direction is still downwards. Now, remember what I said about the 50-week, that gold band, the 50-week moving average being the difference between bullish and bearish? It's pretty extended right now. So until Ethereum Bitcoin, I thought it was going to start moving more sideways here, but it's going further down. Until Ethereum Bitcoin gets above this 50-week moving average, which has been solid resistance for, well, ever since it broke down, this is still bearish. Now, the next target down here is at around 0.15 when we're drawing a fib from the high to the low. But you know what? Let's draw another fib. Just want to see where this is from low to high. We're going to go from the most recent low to the most recent high right there. What do we see? That the 618, okay, I know it's hard to see. It's inside those numbers. The 618 is right at about where Ethereum Bitcoin got to. So from low to the high, we might see a bottom here at around 0.19. But if it gets through that, then again, that 0.16, 0.15 area would be the next target. So you can draw fibs, low to high, high to low. Either way, if this doesn't hold, here's our next target. So maybe we'll see Ethereum Bitcoin holding here. Now, I'm of the mind, and we talked about this earlier in the video and even last live stream, that maybe it's not just Ethereum anymore being the number 2 altcoin. Okay, this has been the alt-season rotation path in the past. But maybe it's not Ethereum anymore. Maybe now, this cycle and going forward, it's a combo of Ethereum, XRP, Solana, right? Who knows? Maybe Doge. I wouldn't go that far yet because we have just a handful of altcoins above 100 billion. I guess you could throw Binance in there too. No, that hasn't been doing the best, but maybe now we should be taking a look at this as well. There's Bitcoin, and then there's these four altcoins: Ethereum, XRP, Solana, Binance. But what this says, let's go back to Ethereum, Bitcoin. What this says is that Ethereum, Bitcoin breaking down shows us there's still a lot of time until alt season and those rotations. You can see last cycle when Bitcoin dominance peaked and Ethereum, Bitcoin bottom, that was September 2019, and alt season was here in May of 2021. And so I'll keep showing you this. The strength of the move was about 330%, and it took 600 days. Now, am I saying it's going to take 600 days and 300% this time around? No, not at all. And actually, let's get rid of one of these fibs here so it's not so complicated. You can see there's this definite trend line that's descending for Ethereum's pairing against Bitcoin, right? Now, whether Ethereum bottoms where it's at or down here, it doesn't have to move with as strong of a move or take as much time. Because getting back up to those trend lines, you can see over here, it didn't even get all the way up to the trend line. So with that logic being said, if it was to get up to the trend line, you can see that's 150%. That's less than half the strength of the move. So half the strength of the move, maybe it only will take 300 days. Something to keep in the back of your mind. Half the strength of the move could move up to those levels in half the amount of time. Which, by the way, if that started from right now, you see that data at the bottom. That's November of this year. That still lines up with the 4-year cycle, with alt season. But what I think this is showing us is that the true alt season might not happen till later this year. Now, that's not to say your altcoins, your mining stocks, some of them might explode in value. And I think first and foremost, you need to have price targets picked out. And if your Chainlink gets to 150, I'm just throwing out random numbers. If your ICP gets to 100, then it would be dumb not to take profits if that happens on its own schedule. If you were lucky enough to be in XRP, I think you're in great profit taking area, being at $3.30. XRP was 50 to 60 cents not long ago. So getting a 5 or 6x, that's amazing. I think that would be smart to take some level of profits. Could it go higher? $5? Sure. That's XRP. But if your altcoin starts to do well and you get lucky and it happens before alt season, it is okay to take profits. But again, what I'm showing you here as far as the Ethereum pair against Bitcoin, how that fits in with Bitcoin dominance, how that fits in with the alt season rotation, how that fits in with the rainbow chart, is that even if we see Bitcoin continue to make a bullish move, which it is showing on the weekly, if we see it continue to make a bullish move and a peak around 155K, let's say by March or April, that the data is showing us, at least with Ethereum, Bitcoin, at least with Bitcoin dominance, that might not be alt season. Last cycle, we had the double top. Alt season was at the first top. What if this cycle we get some sort of double top again, but alt season is more so at the second top? I think that is what the data is starting to show me. Again, I don't know if Bitcoin is going to get to 155K. This is still on the edge of possible fake out territory. It could roll over and get to, these resistances, a 50-week moving average, 72K, or some of these resistances down here, the 100-week, it could get back in the channel. It could get between the 100-day and the 200-day in the 80Ks. I don't know what it's going to do, okay? You can see here on this candle. More of the wick is above than below. So there is sell pressure when more of the wick is above. Is it possible Bitcoin comes down here? Sure. Okay. I don't know whether this is the beginning of Bitcoin going to 155K or if it just spiked and it's going to come back down. I don't know what's going to happen. But either way, I think that the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing, as I showed you before, in Bitcoin dominance, is leading us to believe that the 4-year cycle being later this year is more in play, because Ethereum Bitcoin just made a new cycle low. And as far as alt season, acting as it has in the past, that is what Ethereum Bitcoin getting to a new cycle low is telling us. Now I showed you the case for it getting to its trend line, and that could happen by later this year. Everything is still in play, even with as bad as Ethereum is doing right now. And when things are doing bad, that's when you want to look for opportunities. Most people don't want to buy things when it's doing bad, but look for that support. If it's hitting those levels, great. And again, if your altcoin starts to do well, aside from all this stuff, it's okay to take profits. But as far as the regular path to alt season, seeing the dominance tank, seeing that rotation, the charts are showing we are still far away from that. And we may, if the bullishness continues, we may see Bitcoin get to 155K without a true alt season. Some alts might pump, but if some alts do, I don't think, at least the data is not showing yet, that would be alt season. We have a couple indicators. We would want to see this alt season index spiking, and we would want to see Bitcoin dominance rolling over as well. Now, would it get to the low 40% without Ethereum doing well? I don't think so. It might only get down to, let's say, the 50% level, give or take. But that's what I'd be looking for coming by this April. At least that's what the data is. That's how I'm leaning based off the data I'm seeing. Comment below whether you agree or disagree. Would love to know your thoughts. And thank you so much for stopping by today. I hope you have a wonderful Monday and a fantastic week. Thanks for watching, and take care.